The Couch, episode 5, featuring an interview with LosoScotti. Welcome back to the show. Thank you to the one concurrent viewer. We got Jerry chilling out in the queue. What's going on, buddy? I know you're in here and you've been here since the start, so I want to thank you very dearly. We have a lot to get into the show. Can we talk about the Mets GM for a second here, Jared Porter? I know you got to take on that Jerry. Well, you can call in if you want, but I mean, man, talk about not taking a hint. I mean, to the nth degree. That guy should end up on Down Bad at the on the Instagram account, or the I don't know. Did it originate on Twitter? I feel like it might have originated on Twitter. Woo. Jerry's a fool, man. I love it. Yeah. Whatever it originated on, I mean, that guy should be like the captain of that. He should be the GM of the Down Bad page, because that was hilarious. What happened with that? I mean, all right, listen, it wasn't hilarious what happened with the girl and everything. Don't get me wrong, right? I mean, that's horrible. That should never happen. I mean, it's quite clear that guy was trying to, maybe not even intentionally, but just the fact that he is in a position of power like that, and he won't leave that poor Brazilian reporter alone is listen, that's enough for me to be like that guy's, if the 69 unread text messages weren't enough for me to be like, this guy's an absolute psychopath who's unhinged. I mean, just the fact that, again, he was in that position of power, or he would be transitioning into that position of power, was enough for me. I mean, it is kind of hilarious though when you see like the pictures and the text he sent thinking he was fly. You know, general rule of thumb, I feel like if she doesn't text back after the first one, you wait a week and you be like, "What's up?" And if she doesn't respond to that, you leave it alone. Right? That's the way I do it. To do that, not even that, but to hit her up, to keep constantly hitting her up over the course of, it was back in 2016, so you got to think 69 texts. Well, it's an unspecified period of time. We don't know how long he was hitting her up for, but 69, at least it seemed, unread messages. I don't have corona, don't worry. She was keeping receipts, of course. 69 unread messages, is a lot of it's a lot of messages, man. Especially if you're sending her bulge pics, asking if she likes it, asking if you annoyed her. I mean, asking you if you annoyed her when she hasn't responded to you. Let's just say maybe he popped out at like the 40-50 range, you know, when he had sent her 40 or 50 unread messages. To ask a girl if you're annoying her after she hasn't responded to at least 40 or 50 of your messages is crazy. That's insane. That's insane. Yeah, dude, you think you might be annoying her at that point. I'm not the guy who's good with chicks, but you'll never catch me doing some shit like that. Never ever. All right, and I could proudly say that without a shadow of a doubt, that you will never catch me doing some weird shit like that. That is crazy. And I don't know if this guy, see, it's always tricky with these situations because you never know if the guy is using his position of power to leverage over the reporter, because he doesn't speak that much English. Again, he kind of, and it's sad because he had a come up, right? This guy was I don't want to say he was a nobody, but he interned for the Red Sox. I mean, that's how he started his career, and then he gets up to this position with the Mets, and he goes and he ruins it by being a jackass and not keeping his dick in his pants and thinking with his second head, not this head, the second head. You never know if it's an exercise of power over the other person. In this case, I'd say, again, even without him intentionally doing so, it could be considered as that. But it's something that you hate to see, you know, especially because, and I think a lot of people were questioning why the reporter came out now with the situation right as he got hired as the Mets general manager. I do know that she comes from Brazil again, so they have. I think it's a culture where if you are even, it's weird how some other cultures work with women, right? Like, even if you, and this is, I'm just paraphrasing here. I can't remember the exact details. I apologize, because this show's a little bit less formal. I mean, I did research, but not that much research. I know in Brazil, from what I read, that there is a culture that even if you're caught up, which is, it's horrible that something like that even occurs. if you get caught up in a sexual controversial event, can you call it that? Is that a good way to describe it? If you get caught up in something sexual and controversial, it doesn't matter, right? You could be disowned. It's something along those lines. If you're found to have had some sort of sexual relation or have been engaged with sexual talks or something along those lines. So she really couldn't come out beforehand. She came out, and I do believe her story. She came out and she said the only reason why she kind of whistle blew for this guy is because now he was becoming the Mets general manager, and she didn't want him abusing his power over other women. So I think that's totally fair and justifiable. It didn't start off, I guess, bad in a sense. Where I really think it took a left turn is when the guy couldn't take a hint. Because then you're making people uncomfortable. The messages I read was that he had sent her pictures of just his face. By the way, the goofiest picture of a face a guy can send. Jerry knows what I'm talking about because I think he told me to look it up the other night as we were playing Pro Clubs. That was the most hilarious picture that you could send to a girl. Like, I'll try to react it on stream. He was like, or reenact it on stream. He was like, he took the picture and he was sitting there like it was some weird combination of like a duck face, duck lip thing, and he was in front of a window. And also too, I mean, they caught you in 4K. He tried to say there weren't pictures after the fact. They had all the pictures. So he literally, I mean, he did this to himself. That's why I don't feel bad for him at all. I feel bad for the woman. I don't feel bad for him. So he sends her pictures like that, and she then responded something along the lines. He said, "Do you like what you see?" She says, "Yes." He says, "Why don't you have a boyfriend yet?" Weird thing to send to a girl. Why don't you have a boyfriend yet? I guess it's like, oh, you're so pretty. Why don't you have a boyfriend? But there were pictures exchanged. Is the point that I'm trying to get to. And after the fact is when she then realized that what was going on was completely inappropriate for a work environment, for someone that was doing media for the Mets, and a guy in that position to be having those types of not even sexual relations, just conversations ranging into that area would be wildly inappropriate. So she sees that, backs out, and then that's when the whole slew of 69 different text messages starts. The moral of the story there is you just really, you can't, you shouldn't even do that. You should be able to, if you are I got to look up how old he is. But I'm assuming he is at that age, if he's past the age of 21, not even, to where you can make an informed decision of when a woman is no longer interested. Let's see. Jared Porter. Bear with me here, folks. Okay. Ween picks are never the move. 41 years of age. So if you're 41, you should know tenfold by that point that sending 69 messages after a woman has ghosted you is not the right move. If she ghosts you, something went wrong. And if something went wrong, she's no longer interested. Boom. Nobody really needed to hear that, because all of us, and I'm sure all the people listening to this, I know Jerry's one of the viewers, I'm sure the other person has an actual brain in their head and knows when someone is not, there's not reciprocation of the interest on both sides. They know, okay, done, fine, whatever. She's not interested anymore. Even if I was him and I had those short conversations with her, I'd be like, I'd be a little bit nervous if they got exposed, because even with her reciprocating slightly, that could still get you caught up, right? But then your go-to move after 69 messages go unseen is to send a peen pic. So you graduated from the bulge, and then you went up to the full, just out in the wind pickle pic. That's crazy. That's like, that goes, I just talked about not being able to take a hint. That goes beyond that. At that point, you're living on cloud 9. I don't know what to tell you. At that point, you're just like, this will really do it to her. She hasn't talked to me in months, but as soon as I send this DP her way, that'll change her mind. It's like, no, dude, not the vibe. Definitely not the vibe. There we go. Sorry, my setup just had a little hiccup there. No I'm good. I'm going to go live on Instagram later for the LosoScotti interview, by the way. I'm just streaming a little bit now. See how many people I can get in. I know Jerry's here. Who's the other person listening? You could type it in the chat. I'm curious. Also, Jerry, if you want to call in, just because I know you can unload on this guy. Just what a horrible, horrible tone for the Mets, too. I don't think it's going to be the end of the world, but we're trying to rebrand here. Are we going to have like a Washington football team situation where some horrible shit comes out and then we actually become really good because now we have Francisco Lindor and Alex Carrasco? Who knows? I don't think it's, again, I don't think it's the end of the world for the Mets, but still, it's definitely not a good look organizationally if you have stuff like this going on. Especially because there's going to be a lot of people reporting on the Mets. The Mets are going to be a team this year that's in the fold for sure. You know? And there's, with that, we're a big market team. We're finally operating like a big market team. There's going to be other people coming in now wanting to report on the Mets. And they're going to look at this and be like, Jared Porter's, it packed him up. They got him out of there. Jared Porter, they're going to look at Carlos Carrasco. There you go. Thank you, Jerry. I don't know baseball all that much. Reporters are going to look at that now, even though Jared Porter's gone, and be like, was this allowed? It doesn't matter if the guy in question is, and he was terminated very quickly. I mean, I have to hand it to the Mets. As soon as they heard about it, you're out of here. You're done. But they're going to look at it now and be like, do I want to report on the Mets? You have to get a bunch of guys in there. You know? It's sad, too. There's so many different angles you could look at it, at this. There's so many different angles you could look at this with, where it's like, you could look at it for the Mets organization. You could look at it for the woman. Poor thing. She doesn't even do reporting anymore. And you could look at it through the lens of women's reporting as a whole. Right? It's already hard for women in sports. Granted, a lot more of them are getting positions now, in the NFL and the NBA, reffing, coaching, all that stuff. So that's good, but like, they're already in a male-dominated industry. And to have this stuff happen, I can only imagine. If I wanted to do a podcast with a team, and I knew that I was going to get diddled every time I did the podcast, I wouldn't want to do that. Or I heard that, like, say, Jerry, I'm sorry, I'm going to throw you under the bus here. Let's say I wanted to report on a team, and then Jerry gets diddled, right? He gets his pickle tickled, and I'm sitting there like, I'm not trying to be funny, but I'm sort of trying to be funny to be interesting, but like, it's the same thing in theory. If women are getting sexually assaulted, even or like verbally, or let's just say not sexually assaulted, but sexually harassed, there you go. If they're getting sexually harassed, and then other ones hear about that, and they're also in the industry, if I'm a woman, I don't want to go into that. So what does that do for the industry? It's a shame, man. It's really a shame that this guy, I mean, there are probably way more people like this guy, like Armie Hammer. We'll get into his little situation in a second, but dude, it's such a bad look. It's such a bad look. Either way, any way you spin it, not either way, any way you spin it. The MLB, right? Women's reporting. Jared Porter, I don't even know what he's gonna do now. He'll live a life of flipping burgers. Jared Porter, for the woman, she has to now go back to Brazil. I mean, this is a whole thing now. And again, she didn't want to report on it. She didn't want to break it to ESPN. Apparently some people knew too. I'm sure Jerry will clarify when he calls in a couple minutes. But she didn't want to talk about this. So now I'm assuming, has to go back to Brazil with that culture that we talked about, where it's generally frowned upon to have stuff like this happen, even if the woman is not to blame, which she isn't. So it really sucks either way that you spin this. It's tough. It's tough. Ain't no two ways about it. It's tough, man. But it is funny to see Jared Porter's face. Hold on one sec. I want to see if I can bring it up here. You guys, if I can get this up on stream, you guys are going to really laugh at this. This is so funny. Unfortunately, he's exactly the person that looks like they would do something like this. Should I show a picture of him? I just want to see the picture of him, like, there's literally a picture of him going, I gotta see this. For anyone that's interested, let me see if I can pull it up here. Do I already have a window capture? Camera and internet capture. Okay, let's see. Can you guys see that on the screen? Is it showing up on stream? One sec. No, it is not. Unfortunate. Okay, 1 second. I'll get it up. Coincidentally, I'm sure that's what also Jared Porter said while he was texting that girl. That was a low blow. Enough, Cooperman. Okay, I might have to... No, I'm not going to reload the stream, but I'm going to have to re-enter this in here. Okay. Window capture. Internet. It's tough with OBS, man. There we go. This is what Mr. Porter looks like. So he looks a little bit like James Corden. Corden? Is it Cordon or Corden? I'm gonna wait. Hold on. Let me tweak the window a little bit here. It's a little bit big. Get that. Whoop. Okay. This is cool. We have dual monitor capability here now, ladies and gentlemen. This is great. So this is what he looks like, and I'll try my best to find the pictures. Text pictures. Let's try text pictures. Let's see what pops up. Jerry, there was one hilarious one. I don't know if you know where to find it, but you know the one that I'm talking about. Oh, there it goes. There it goes. There it goes. Okay, I'm gonna try to. I don't know if you can see that. Like, look at that. Look at this goof. Oh, it's on YouTube.
Hello, Sports Mockery fans.
Sorry about that. That was really loud, and I didn't realize this would also play. This is actually perfect. All right, let me see if I can find the Porter guy. But yeah, I mean, he just looks like the type of guy to do this stuff. So bad look. This is the face. That was the face of the Mets for a while. That was the GM of the Mets right there. And look, like he's like, "Are you there?" Question mark. Question mark. Mad at me. He said the sad face with the nose. Oh shoot, we got a call in from Jerry. Okay, all right, so we'll take the call in from Jerry. But yeah, this is the guy. They caught him in 4K. Look at the nasty headband too. Look at that nasty ass headband. What is this guy? He's trying to get his shit off, bro. Oh my goodness. That was shout out to Sports Mockery. I used his video there. Seems like a cool guy. So yeah, we're gonna just close that for now, and we'll take the call in. All right, yeah, Jerry, call back in, buddy. We'll get you back on the line here. I just wanted to show everyone what he looked like. That's so funny. If you triple pop the you triple pop the question mark, and you just But what, Brandon? Brandon's wow. You triple pop the question mark with the sad face and the nose? Come on, man. Come on. All right, Jerry, call on in, man. Try it again. I promise it'll go through this time. Actually, don't, Jerry. I can just probably call you. This is also on a delay, so I don't know what's going to happen here. Let's see. Jeez. Oh, there it goes. What's
Call
up,
from
Shit.
Jerry.
What's up, Jerry? How you doing, buddy?
I think we can't go without this guy. Like, what the hell was that, man?
Oh, Peter's in here too. What's up, Peter? Yeah, no. So, Jerry, we were ragging on this guy a little bit beforehand, and I'm a Mets fan.
Whoa. Let's not back up here. I heard the scenario. I don't appreciate it.
What scenario?
Your little make-believe scenario about me getting a little something.
Your pickle tickled?
You could have picked anybody. You could have just made up a random person. You could have said Johnny from down the block. Why'd you have to pick me?
I don't know. I mean, you report on sports, Jerry. I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, like, yeah, but I'm not a whatever. All right. Well,
listen. Nobody's gonna tickle your pickle, all right?
It never happened.
Let's just move on. You know what I'm saying?
Now I'm kind of offended. You don't think I'm good looking enough to get for somebody to think about it?
Your pickle tickled. Oh my God, it's good to hear from you.
Christ.
How you doing, buddy?
Anyways, I'm great. I'm great. I think a big portion of what we're missing too is that she told somebody from the Cubs about it,
mm-hmm.
and she asked him not to. I'm assuming she asked him not to tell anybody, but like at that point, like, listen, I get, like, if it happened now and she wanted to stay anonymous because Jared Porter is, like, a big, not a big name, but a bigger name now than he was then.
Right.
But, like, if she did that if she, like, let the Cubs know back then, it's probably a non-story because, I mean, let's be honest, like, I'm a big Red Sox fan. I don't know who the director of scouting is for the Red Sox. Like, I don't know any of the scouts for the Red Sox. Like,
Right.
if Jared Porter was working for the Red Sox as a scout, I wouldn't know who he is. Like, so if, they kind of got this shut down quickly and he got fired as a scout, I mean, maybe a couple of people in Chicago hear about it and write about it, but in general, like, it's probably not a big story and it's probably a lot easier to keep her anonymous. Whereas now it comes out 4 years later, people are automatic, right or wrong. It's wrong, but right or wrong, people are going to ask as to whether or not she's, making it up because now he's in a position of power or whatnot. I mean, but it's already more difficult to keep her anonymous because Sandy accidentally dropped where she's from. So, yeah, I mean, I think the fact that I'm not sure if the Cubs didn't know about it. I don't know if that employee didn't tell them, but the fact that the Cubs never knew about it, and then he worked for the Diamondbacks, and the Diamondbacks never knew about it, and then he worked for the Mets, and the Mets never knew about it, and everyone the Mets called gave him, like, great reviews, and an ESPN reporter saying that he was a great human, and then 4 weeks later, this drops. I mean, like,
I heard that also.
Kind of like it makes me scratch my head because it's like, all right, but there's no way this could have been unknown by everybody involved.
Well,
I'm not saying it's the Mets or the Diamondbacks or the Cubs, but it says in the story somebody from the Cubs knew. So either he told the team did nothing, or he didn't tell the team. In that case, it's on him.
Well, I heard that someone at ESPN also knew about it, or multiple people at ESPN knew about it. That's the inside scoop I heard, and that they just now would come out with it, and that for all the reasons that I just kind of went over back there, it's like you're right. It sucks that it's getting blown up now. This could have been kept. I'm not saying you keep it quiet, but this could have been, I think, handled internally without all the media noise around it, right? Like, take him out. It's gonna be a big story that he gets fired, but maybe keep the reason quiet, knowing the reason why this woman didn't want to come forward and her reservations. Like, do it for her. I'm not saying keep it quiet because it would be a bad look on all the teams, because it is kind of a bad look on all the teams that they didn't know about it. But I guess if he was keeping it quiet, how would they? I think more for the fact that she now has to, like you said, go back to Brazil, where for whatever fucking reason they have a problem with stuff like this happening. And not in a good way. Like, they have a problem with, I guess, her. I don't understand the whole cultural thing with that, where she could be at blame for that, but apparently that's what it is.
So from my understanding of it, ESPN's had the story since 2017, and from my understanding, I mean, there was two authors of the story. It was Jeff Passan, their insider. He's basically the Woj of the MLB.
Okay.
And Mina Kimes, who's a woman reporter there. I think she's mainly NFL, but I think, she can do all sports. But I think she's on NFL Live, so I think NFL is her main thing. But, she's a sports reporter. She can do what she wants.
Mm-hmm.
I think, so from my understanding, she has had it since 2017 because Passan didn't work there in 2017. But when the woman she doesn't even work in sports anymore now, she works in, like, finance, but when she came forward with the rights to go public, I would think that even though Mina Kimes had the story, I would think Passan jumped in on it because I would think that he has connections with teams and insiders and whatnot to be able to get, like, comments and, like, actual information as to whether or not this happened or not, more information on how it happened, whether the teams knew about it, and things of that nature. Because, I mean, again, he's the Woj of the NBA. Like, nobody has more phone numbers in their contact list than he does when it comes to important people in baseball. Like, every single big piece of news, he's always the first to report on it. So I would think that when it came to, like, confirming the story and digging a little deeper, that's probably when he got involved.
So you think they just didn't have enough?
That was my understanding of it.
You think they didn't have enough information to pull the trigger?
No, I think the issue with pulling the trigger was that the woman didn't want it out there because she was afraid of what it would do to her career. But now that she's in finance and not even working in sports journalism anymore,
they just pulled it.
Nobody really knows who she is anymore. She's a little more anonymous now than she was when her name was getting attached to articles. Now she's a little bit more anonymous.
Right.
Now I think her reputation's a little safer. Although, I mean, again, I don't read Brazilian media, so even if they put out the lady's name, I have no idea who she is. But, like, it's already. I'm sure there are people within baseball that know exactly who it is. Like I bet the Mets probably know who it is. I bet you the Cubs probably know at this point who it is. Like,
Yeah.
you know, obviously they're not going to go out there and name drop it, but just for her sake, because she didn't do anything wrong.
Oh, I thought they
So
name dropped her. There you go. Well, I needed to do a little bit
they
more
did not
research
name
on that.
drop her.
Oh, okay. All right.
Also, and I know they dropped the country, but I'm not exactly sure. I know the Mets accidentally dropped the country in like a press conference or something. I'm not exactly sure what that country was, but
Okay. Well, I would have just
yeah.
assumed that's on me. I should have done a little bit more research there. I assumed because they dropped the country, they had dropped the name as well. Because that would be a weird thing if they just dropped the country. But if they did that by accident, then yeah. All right. Well then, okay. So take out what I was originally saying about the backlash that Brazilian culture would give her. I still just think it's obviously a bad look on those organizations and women's reporting. Unfortunately, this shit probably happens all the time. I mean, I'd be surprised if this was not even an isolated incident. I'd be surprised if you could count on your hand the amount of times that this has happened. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure this happens all over the place.
I think the difference here though was that it was obviously somebody from a different culture, and it was somebody. I mean, yes, like the picture was bad, but it like the 60. Forget it's without the picture, it's still straight up harassment. Like
Yeah.
without a doubt, like 62 unanswered text messages, like that's harassment. That's an obsession.
Yeah,
Like
that
that's
is.
just weird, dude. Like
Yeah.
it's just weird. Like get over it. Like she doesn't. Obviously, the feelings are not mutual. The interest is not mutual. It's a one way. It's a one way street here. Like move on, move on. Like don't be a weirdo. Like you sending selfies and am I annoying you and pictures of
Yeah.
ballparks and winky faces. It's like get over it. Like please stop. You're making it worse on yourself. And clearly, it got worse for him because he's unemployed now, and I have a hard time believing he's going to get any type of job like the one he had, if any job in baseball ever again. So I mean,
Probably not. No.
wherever, even if you hire him as like an intern now, that name's still going to pop up. People are still going to notice, and
Yeah.
it'd be a bad look no matter how you hire him.
Yeah. Well,
But yeah, I mean, like when I saw that story, it was just like, oh,
that was
like,
my
you
whole
gotta
thing.
be kidding me.
That was my whole thing. Is not when it started, because sure that I think, and let me know if you agree with me here, Jerry. It doesn't make any of it okay, but at first she was reciprocating, right? Like he sent her a picture. She said,
What do you mean by that?
He would. I read the I did like a little bit of a read on the story, and he had originally, and this is just what I've read. Okay, and you could tell me if I'm being, because you know baseball better than I do. You could tell me if I'm off base with this. I read that when he sent her the first couple pictures, that was right around, like, remember we were laughing at when he sent her the text like, why don't you have a boyfriend yet? That was right around that time. He had sent her some pictures, and he said, do you like what you see? And she said yes, and then I think she said, are you not married or something, because he was 41 at the time. Or he is 41 now, or he was whatever age at the time.
Yeah, like,
and she was a little bit reciprocative, but to take all that out of the equation, 62 messages after the fact? I agree, Jerry. It's like
yes,
ridiculous. Like, what are we doing here?
No, I mean, in the beginning, I think there might have obviously been a misunderstanding because, like, he was kind of obviously making a move and she was kind of leading him on. But, after a while, like, she wasn't talking to him anymore. So after a while, you just need to stop. Like, you just need to stop. You need to realize that this is a dead end. It's a wall that you're not going to be able to break through. Just move on. Like, do something. Like, go scout. And, like, the weirdest, like, he would, like, the things he would do to try to get her to talk to her, it's, like, messed up. Like, he would drop, like, some news so that she could get the scoop on it. Like, he'd be like, oh, we just made this trade. We just called up this prospect. It's like he would do, like, the strangest things to try and get her to talk to him. And, yeah, I mean, it's a messed up story. Assuming the Mets didn't know about it, they obviously made the right move firing him, like, ASAP. But,
yeah,
I mean, I don't think this is the last we're hearing of it. Somebody out there's got to know. I mean, again, an employee of the Cubs knew. I think she must have asked him to not tell anybody, but I mean, you gotta. I mean, I'm sorry, like you gotta at that point just be like, hey, like you don't have to drop her name or anything. You could just be like, hey, like to Theo Epstein, the GM, you could be like, hey, this is happening. Like your guy is doing this to female reporters. Like you need to figure it out.
maybe have that stop. Yeah, So what do you think? We're going to see more information surface, like maybe her name or something like that?
No, I don't think we're ever going to find out her name from the public unless somebody leaks it out. But I don't think any reporter is going to put that out there, like just because. I mean, that would be disrespectful.
That would be so disrespectful.
I think if anybody knows, we're going to find out exactly who knew, not her name, but we're going to find out names of people within baseball that knew and didn't say anything about it. Whether that would be anybody from the Mets that might have gotten tipped off about this.
I was going
to
say
that might be anybody from the Diamondbacks that was tipped off about it before, and whether that would be anybody on the Cubs who was tipped on. I mean, we already know one person with the Cubs was tipped off about it. So
I can't remember if I touched on that earlier, but I think I definitely want to stress the fact that I do believe that someone else had to have known about it. You know what I'm saying? Usually, I'm going off of what, and like what you're talking about with the Mets, with the Cubs. Usually, when something like this comes out, unfortunately, it happens a little bit more frequently than I'm sure everyone would like. You know, someone will come out after the fact and be like, "Yeah, this person knew about it, and they swept it under the rug," or this, that, the third. You know, so I'm sure people were made aware, if not for the whole situation, maybe even like half of it. Maybe they were made aware by something I saw in the hallway, and they just, it's all about that stuff, man. It's sad. It's unfortunate because I was talking about it. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
The dude has no game. It's sad to see.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Clearly, it's like he's clearly like just like a weirdo, like creepy, like I don't know, like that. Like it's
Jerry, reading that, does it make
forget the pictures? Like reading those text messages, like I was just cringing the whole time. I'm like, dude. Like, come on, you got to take a class or something.
Yeah, well, you know what? Reading that, does that make you feel better? And I'm not saying you have bad game, but like for me, I have terrible. Like my game over text is just absolutely horrific. Never did anything like that, of course. But does that almost like make you feel better? Because at least like like for me, if I know when a chick isn't feeling interest. Unfortunately, it's happened a lot, so I know when to be like, okay, distance. I'm not sitting there sending the frowny face, sending the hey, trying to desperately get her I mean, it almost has to make you feel better about your own game, right?
I gotta be honest. I don't mean to sound like cocky or anything, but I don't really have many confidence issues in anything that I come across.
So what do you? Wait, let me ask you completely seriously, Jerry, and feel free if you don't want to answer this, you don't have to answer this. Have you ever like gone out of your way to what's your go-to approach with a woman? Do you just text her? Do you try to? Because I know a lot of people like to kind of catch them in person and like talk to them. On a scale of like saying hi in person and trying to I'm asking. I want to know on a scale of like talking to them in person, not in any creepy way. In a scale of like talking to the person to trying to like slide in on DMs, what's your go-to approach? I'm curious.
I mean, like a magician never reveals how he does his tricks, but I'm just gonna say this.
Okay.
I will tell you what I don't do. I don't send like cringeworthy selfies of myself.
Yeah.
I don't send winky faces. I don't ask whether the girl has that boyfriend yet, and I definitely don't send 62 unread messages followed by a pic. I mean,
that's real tough.
Bad. That's one secret I'll reveal with you.
Okay. Well, you have to tell me off air because I
wouldn't recommend you do it.
No, I don't. Listen, Jerry.
I definitely wouldn't recommend doing it.
Listen. We all know my shot percentage, but I'm never the guy if I'm.
Trust me.
Go ahead.
I've seen you in action. Unfortunately, I mean.
It's not. Listen, I'm gonna cop to it. Sometimes it's ugly, but it's never. I can confidently say that it's never gotten.
No,
to that
I mean
point.
like you did one time accidentally. I got caught in the middle of a shot of yours. I kind of a little friendly fire, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah, I mean, like I've seen it.
There's been some dumpster fires, but I can confidently say never a dumpster fire to that extent. Being completely transparent and open on mic, I definitely that's what I mean. Like, at least I'm not Jared.
No,
Porter.
I mean like, yeah, I don't know if you know what I meant.
I know what you. No, I know what you meant, Jerry. I'm not. That some things I'll reveal on air. Well, actually, it's not that bad.
No, I'm not going to reveal it. I'm not going to reveal it on air because I don't want to be that guy. But
yeah, basically, I mean, there's like two people, and I'm sure it's you and Brandon in here. I basically,
I'm not even talking about people. I'm just like, never mind. This is a conversation for a later time.
Okay.
I'm not talking about anybody specific. I'm talking about a specific thing that happened to me as a result of you, but it's not a specific person.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean, Jerry. I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. But I guess for the case of just moving on now and you know, anonymity for the person, we'll just keep it pushing. But I'm sure everyone in this live right now knows what's going on here. But yes, I don't
know which person we're talking about still.
You're killing me, Jerry. I'm trying to get the flow
I'm dead
going.
serious. I'm not even joking. No.
Right. I'll talk to you after.
I mean, that sucks. What else? What else do you want to talk about?
Did you hear
that topic depresses me?
Yeah. Did you hear about the Armie Hammer allegations? If we're talking about bad messages being leaked, how he said he wanted to barbecue someone's rib cage or like take a rib out of their body and barbecue it.
Oh, you're delving into pop. Oh, I did not hear about this. No. Yeah. I'm gonna be honest here. If I'm gonna be real, I think Armie Hammer is a rapper, but I don't know if I've ever heard of his songs. And I gotta be honest, I don't know if I knew who he was before this week.
I thought he was Arm and Hammer.
Pop
like I was like mad confused when I heard about it.
No, that's definitely a cleaning product.
Yeah, I was like Arm and Hammer. What did they do? And I was like, oh, he's an actor. So apparently he's an actor. He's a good-looking guy, but apparently he's just very much a psychopath, just all the way a psychopath, like to the fullest extent.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm sure he's famous, but like, I mean, I'm not a movie guy. Like, I watch sports. Like, that's what I do. Like, I know who like the big celebrities are. Like, I'm not like some people where it's like I don't know who like this guy is, but like in general, if it's like once you get out of like the top like 20 celebrities for me, we start to get out of control. Like, I might not know who somebody is.
Oh yeah, I didn't know who he was either. Honestly, Armie Hammer. He was gonna star in a movie with Jennifer Lopez in the Dominican Republic, I think, and they pulled his movie because there were DMs that came out, like lewd pictures. First off, he had an alt Instagram, so he had an alternative Instagram where he would post just all types of foul stuff. Then DMs came out of him talking about how he wanted to cannibalize women. He, I guess, tried to save face. He denied the allegations, but said he pulled himself from the movie. Then there was a voice memo that leaked where he said that it was a kind of a heat of the moment thing where he was talking about getting kinky. I don't know what person on God's green earth gets kinky by talking about barbecuing and eating someone's ribs. I've never heard of that before. I think that might just be you wanting to barbecue and eat someone's ribs. But, listen, a kink is a kink, but at what point does a kink get too far? So that's why Armie Hammer is coming out.
I thought Jared Porter was down bad.
Oh, yeah, no. Armie Hammer makes Jared Porter look like a baby. And then apparently some of his exes came out and said that he was very abusive. So it seems like Armie Hammer is next up, potentially for good reason if all these claims turn out to be true. He is next up on the cancel train. I really hope he's not actually, cannibalizing or beating his significant others, but those are the claims that are levied against him.
I could see us not hearing about like abuse or anything, but I gotta be honest, if he was like eating or like cannibalize, like I think we'd probably hear about that.
Yeah, no, I mean you could look it up. There was it's not, he didn't actually cannibalize people. He just talked about it while he was sexting someone. Which at the very least,
Brandon Silva is definitely sitting here watching, being like, "Why? How do these guys not know who Armie Hammer is?"
Brandon's like, "He's my favorite cannibal."
No, I don't think he said that. I think he probably just knows who he is.
All-time
He's
cannibalist.
Probably a normal human being. He knows who he is.
I
mean, give me credit though.
Yeah, go ahead.
Credit though. I'm trying to get better. I watched one movie that I hadn't seen before over the break, so that's good.
Yeah, well, listen, you're becoming more of a movie guy. I'm honestly, I didn't know who Armie Hammer was, so I don't expect anyone else. And I feel like I'm kind of tapped in to pop culture. Not really. I mean, I just pay attention because I have to do this and I have to do podcasts and all that, so I keep an eye out. But before this, I had no idea who the guy was. I didn't know him. But yeah, he at the very least, this points to him being, I don't want to say insane, but there's definitely something seriously wrong with him, right? Can we both agree on that, Jerry?
Yeah.
Did you say yes or no?
I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
I thought you said no. I was like, oh.
Well. Hold on. There's allegedly something wrong with him. Allegedly.
Yeah, that's
These
true.
are allegations.
Well, I don't know if the DMs were confirmed or not. There was one picture where there was a girl in lingerie sitting on a bed, and he said it was Miss Kenosha or something, or something along those lines. And then the actual, like, the corporation that does, like, the Miss America, the Miss Canada, and all that stuff, they came out and actually confirmed that the girl wasn't who he said it was. So there was at least that. And now, yeah, again, you're right. Like, we shouldn't talk about all this stuff not knowing if it's confirmed or not. But I mean, do you want? We can have this conversation, Jerry. Everyone kind of just jumped on it, and I try to be objective. So you're right. I should be better with that. We don't know if he's actually talked about. Well, we kind of do know that he's talked about cannibalizing people. We don't know if he abused his exes. That's the part that we don't know about. And a lot of people, I feel like we could definitely. We'll talk about this, like. Social media. You were talking. Was it you that was talking about Twitter the other day and how toxic it was?
Twitter. I mean, yeah, every social media platform is toxic. I mean, Twitter's just an example of it. I mean, like you could say like the sky is blue when people will yell at you and tell you how much of a dummy you are. Like it's just kind of, but it's also kind of what you signed up for. Like if you sign up for Twitter and you create a Twitter account and you go out there and you tweet. Like you kind of signing up for a street fight. Like it is what it is. Like
that's crazy.
You know, like if you sign up to be a boxer, you can't get complained when you get punched in the head.
That's true. That's true. Well, I just heard from
speaking of fighting.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say. Let me just.
Fighting. I mean, I don't know how.
This phone delay is terrible. Yeah. Let me just finish up the thought here. Yeah. No, I was talking. It was because I just remembered it was Duncan that was talking about it with. He said Twitter was very toxic and people are quick to jump on certain things. So. In the interest of being, and I know where you're going to, we'll talk about Conor versus Dustin Poirier too in a second. In the interest of being an objective reporter that still remains entertaining, I hope, at the very least, we do not know if he was actually abusive, but it seems as though the DMs and the pictures, at the very least, this guy is a little bit of a freaky boy with some possible cannibal kinks. So, yes, that to end off that segment, that's where we'll leave that. What I know you're going to talk about now is Dustin Poirier versus Conor McGregor 2. I'm assuming you're watching it, Jerry, yes?
Yeah, I'll buy it.
You're buying it?
I'm concerned. Listen, I'm concerned that if I illegally stream this thing, Dana White's going to come to my door and kick my ass.
Forearm shiver.
That's what he said he'd do.
Yo, I'm funny. That's funny.
That's basically what he said he did. Like all the streamers, like he said he's coming after him, and I got to be honest, I kind of heard it. I kind of heard it. It kind of scared me a little bit. Dana White, let me be honest. Dana White, like, if you know that guy's background, like, not a guy you want to mess around with. That's all I'm going to say.
He's definitely gotten into a better shape.
He's not a guy you want to mess around with. He knows people. He's got people. I mean, he obviously has people because he's the guy, that UFC guy. So, I mean, like, he has a whole roster of men and women at his disposal that could come and beat me up with no, like, and not even, not even make like get a sweat, but
right,
like, oof, well, like yeah, I'll just drop the $60 and forget about it.
I don't think that's a $60 worthy card there. Outside of the co-main and the main, it's not a card that's worth paying $60 for, and that's my informed opinion as a UFC fan. I just don't think it's worth all the trouble. So I'm definitely gonna find a way to stream it. And if Dana White wants to shoot the fair one outside of my house, then I guess that is what it is. And I'll have, you know what I'm saying? I'll have the fight on the background, and we'll go 5 rounds in the octagon that is my driveway. Because I'm definitely streaming that fight. There is no way. Are you paying for the full thing? Is someone else chipping in? Are you having buddies over?
No, I'll just pay for the whole thing. But like, and here's the thing: is like you're speaking as the informed MMA fan, and like that's cool and all. But like when you think about like what they're trying to do, they're trying to bring UFC casual fans to watch UFC. I mean, like I haven't paid for a UFC fight since the last time Conor McGregor fought. Like he's like guy. I know he's not the best. I know he's not the best fighter in the UFC anymore, but he is definitely the most popular, the most polarizing. Like really the only other fighter that could probably get me to buy, and again, I know he's not the top of the top anymore, although he still hasn't lost, is probably John Bones Jones. Like he's the only other one that I would consider buying. Like, I get guys like Masvidal and, other guys like that, like, or, what's his name? Khabib. I know he just retired, but like they were kind of like the tippity top, like the best fighters there are. But in terms of like guys that will get casual fans like myself to buy, it's McGregor and probably John Jones. That's probably it.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'd actually, depending on what we see tomorrow, McGregor might actually be one of the best fighters in the UFC because I really like the way he looked coming back and facing Cowboy. I mean, he looked terrific. He looked fantastic. I think he's a much more focused McGregor that's not really concerning himself with cutting a promo or anything like that. Just strictly focused on fighting. I think that's a dangerous McGregor. I also just think that Dustin Poirier is a dog.
And he's huge.
He's huge. He's definitely
different.
He's a lot bigger. He made
different.
the jump up to 155.
He's not recognizable anymore.
He's a much beefier boy now. So I'm sure that left hand is going to have a lot more power that he can play around with. I just think also that Dustin Poirier is, as I said, a dog. I think he has that second gear. If he gets McGregor past, I'd say like 2 rounds, it's going to be a tough fight for McGregor. If McGregor can land early, Dustin Poirier is gone. He's toast. He's done so it's going to be real interesting to watch. I just think that, sure, yeah, he's the main. I mean, he's the main attraction. Some people will pay $60, $70 just to see him, and I understand that. But for me, it's like, if I pay $60 to $70, I want to sit down for the full card. You know what I'm saying? And I'll watch other fighters fight. At this point, though, like, I don't want to sit here and say that I'm constantly busy, but I could be spending that time doing other stuff. Like, if I buy a card, I want to be fully immersed. Like, I remember it was UFC 205 at Madison Square Garden. That was the best mixed martial arts card I've ever seen in my entire life. I paid the full money for that. I paid the full price, not the full money. Use your words, Jake. I paid the full price for that. And I swear to God, down to the results of each match, that was the best MMA card I've ever seen in my life. Probably the UFC card because I only really watch UFC. The best UFC card I've ever seen in my life. That had George St. Pierre going up against Michael Bisping. That had Cody Garbrandt versus, I want to say, TJ Dillashaw. That had Rose Namajunas going against Joanna Jędrzejczyk. So it was all of these really interesting stories. And like the main event tonight is really interesting because I want to see, even if because we could talk about respectful Conor McGregor in a second. Even with respectful Conor McGregor, it's still, I mean, he's an enigma. He can come back after 4 years and knock Donald Cerrone, one of the best strikers in the UFC, clean out. So, my whole thing though on that is like even the co-main event, Michael Chandler's never fought in the UFC before. He's only fought in Bellator, and they're putting up They're putting up against a guy in, who is it? Is it Dan Hooker? Yeah, it's Dan Hooker, who's like this insanely talented striker. So that has the potential to either be a break or make, or a make or break for the matchmakers. So I don't know. I just don't really know if I want to invest the full time or cash amount into that card on the off chance that it'll have some fireworks. I got to look up the full card. But yeah, that's just my whole take.
I have 2 questions for you, and they're not really related to or they're not really related to one another, but like they both came up like during what you were talking about. Like you said, you were impressed by McGregor.
Yeah.
Last time he was out against Cerrone. Is the only problem with that is, like, again, I'm not an MMA guy, but like I'm just kind of using my head here. Like that was a full year ago. Like, isn't a year kind of a long layoff for these types of guys? Like, I don't know. Like, is the McGregor that we saw a year ago the same McGregor that we're necessarily seeing now? Because I gotta be honest, just like personally, like people do change a lot year to year. I'm wondering, like, I know these guys don't fight every month, but like I feel like a year is kind of a long layoff. No.
Well, also, you have to think, and I'll use the example I just used. Jessica Ai, by the way, and Joanne Calderwood might be a good fight too. But these guys, UFC 205, that main event, Michael Bisping versus George St. Pierre, that happened after George St. Pierre took a 4-year layoff from mixed martial arts, from the sport. McGregor, before his fight with Cowboy Cerrone, he had taken about a 3 to 4 year layoff from the sport as well, and he looked terrifically. There are some guys that he looked terrific. Excuse me. There are some guys that just seem to be immune from ring rust. It just doesn't affect them. I can't explain it to you, Jerry. I wouldn't be able to explain it. I just don't. It doesn't make any sense to me. But there are people that, I guess it all depends on how hard they're working in their absence from the ring. See, the rest of these are kind of like, eh. Amanda Ribas is really, she's good, but I don't know.
And
there are guys that can come back stronger. Question. Yeah.
Well, my second question too, like with that, because you talk about the card a little bit more, like her being like, whatever. Like you, and I guess you already kind of answered the question because, like you said, like you bought like the greatest MMA card you ever saw when it was at MSG. But like other than that, like you say, you're not like what, like is there like a card out there that's been like, a card within the last like 365 days or even 2 years, where it's like where you'd be like, oh, I could see myself buying that. Because like I don't mean to be a jerk, I'm just asking because like I know there's a lot of people out there that are MMA fans, but they're never ever, no matter the card, ever going to like buy the fight.
That's true. Well, at the time, I didn't really know about streaming, but if I had to say, if there was a time where it like, are you saying if that was my only option?
Like going forward,
Yeah.
no, like streaming, like, but like, like, I mean, streaming is how it is. Like, you got to make like every time you click on a stream, you're already a little concerned that like, you're going to pick up 15 million viruses and that your
Right.
social security account's going to be exploited by whatever, person is on the other end of the stream. But like, adding on the fact that the UFC said we're coming for you, like, but like, and obviously they're trying to crack down on this going forward. But like, is there a fight? Is there a card out there, like even with streaming available, that you'd be like, I'm going to buy this one just to be safe?
Well, that's okay. That's what I
Or
thought
not
you were
really?
talking about. There are a lot of cards. I can't remember. It was. Let me see. Hold on. Events. We're gonna go to events here because I want to remember. There was one stream that I remember having those feelings about that really grabbed my attention. That was like, I absolutely need to see that, because usually you have your fighters that you're a fan of. I'm a really big fan of Cowboy. I'm a really big fan of guys like Overeem. Um, guys like, this should be a good one. Edwards versus Chimev. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Chiesa versus Magny. You know, there are some cards. I'm really a big fan of Thompson. There are some cards that are hit or miss in the sense that, you might not know until you watch that they're terrific. There have been cards where I'm like, okay, I have nothing better to do. Let me sit down and watch it and stream it. I'm not going to spend money. And then it turned out to be great. There are other cards and I'm trying to find one that I was thinking of that I actually tuned in and I was like, oh, this is great. I would actually buy this. But there are other cards like that where you think you'd buy it and then you do, and it ends up turning out to be terrible. But I'll try to find the one that I'm thinking of here. Maybe it was Khabib versus Gaethje. Let me see, because that obviously had Khabib on it, and like you said, that guy's a big draw. But to me too, it makes like, as I said, I'm not just tuning in for the main. Like, I want the co-main, like Robert Whitaker versus Jared Cannonier. That was a really good fight. Alexander Volkov, Walt Harris, that was really good, especially because I think Walt, he had his daughter had died at some point. Maybe he was going up against Overeem at the time, but these are all fighters that I would probably watch. So it would have to be a card that had a combination of just absolute, I don't want to say superstars, but people that I know that I feel like it would be a really fun fight to watch.
Yeah.
I would try to find the exact one, but I wouldn't be able to. But yeah, there have been ones before like that, for sure. I can see what you're saying.
Yeah. All right. Well, I've been hogging up the phone line, so I'm gonna jump off. But before I do, I got to give my picks for the weekend. Obviously.
Yeah.
I got the Bucks in the early game because I can't bet against Tom Brady. I can't do it. I mean,
You can't do it.
you keep waiting. You keep waiting. I mean, I know people joke around, like he's not good anymore. Like, you keep waiting for him to fall off the cliff, and it just doesn't happen. Like, he's threw 40 touchdowns this year.
He's
like,
the GOAT.
arguably, I'd say 4 of the best 5 quarterbacks in the league are playing this weekend. Maybe like Deshaun Watson would probably be the only one that of the top 5 QBs that isn't playing this weekend, and he could potentially be playing around this time next year if he gets traded. So, but I got the Bucks. Because like their defense is good, and even without Antonio Brown, I think that offense is still so good. I think, they're clicking lately. They've been really, really good. Last week they didn't look that great on offense, so that's because that was just the same defense that has always had their number. And again, I think the Bucks defense is stronger than the Packers defense, and I think the offense is Green Bay's is probably better, but I think Tampa can hold their own.
They can swing
in a
with
shootout
them.
with anybody. Yeah. So I just, and again, there's no fans. There are fans at Lambeau, I should say, but I don't think Brady really gets fazed by that anymore. I mean, he went to Kansas City a couple of years ago and won in the AFC Championship game, in a game that the Patriots, on paper, they were not as good of a team as KC. But, like when you have Tom Brady, like that's kind of how it, like, going into these games, you have a shot because you have him. And
Right.
with Tampa too, it's not just Brady, like his skill level, but like there's an overall culture change, like the confidence and the swagger and the way they carry themselves is a little different. I don't think it's just Brady. I think it's a lot of the additions they made. But I mean, like he's obviously the headline guy. But like, yeah, I mean, it's tough to bet against him in this time of year. And then AFC, I think it's Chiefs for me. It's actually going to be a close game, I think, and Buffalo might pull it out because they are a bad matchup for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
In terms of like, they have the guys in Trey White and as a corner, he's one of the better corners in the league, and they have some safety, so they could play over top and really try and shut either Hill or Kelsey down. Probably Hill if they wanted to, but I mean, Mahomes, they obviously did everything they could for him to play on Sunday. I mean, they definitely were putting every loophole that they could possibly find in that. Although he is turf toe, which I know sounds like a minor injury, but I've never had it, but it's excruciatingly painful. So his mobility may be a tad limited. Plus, after he just got knocked out cold, I doubt Andy Reid's really going to be having him running around. But yeah, those are the two picks of the weekend, Bucks and Chiefs. So the Chiefs one, I mean, both games actually, I could honestly be wrong about. Like,
you could see it going either way.
Like this is going to be a really competitive. Like, it's not like last year where like going into it, like we kind of knew like the Niners were probably going to handle the Packers and the Chiefs were probably going to handle the Titans. And the Titans gave the Chiefs a good run for a bit, but then Kansas City pulled away. And I mean, San Francisco just kicked the crap out of Green Bay. But this year, it's kind of like I pick my winners, and if I went 0-2, like I wouldn't be like surprised. Like I wouldn't be like wow, because like honestly, it can go either way.
You've been money so far though with your picks, so I trust your picks. Either way, I'm going to be watching. I'm going to be tuning in for sure. This is going to be. It's been up until this point. I don't think I've missed a single football game, a playoff game, excuse me, and they've all been terrific. They've all been very, very exciting.
And I meant to make this point at the beginning of the show, but I forgot because you kind of distracted me with the whole situation you hypothetically put me in.
Yes.
But the fact that Francesa isn't around anymore to rant about that Mets guy, I mean,
yeah,
unbelievable. It sucks.
We lost. We lost.
I mean,
we lost an icon, and he's not even dead. He's just off the
like
air.
The fact that we had to listen to I mean, like I'm not gonna call any. I mean, like Craig Carton and Evan Roberts. The show is good, but I mean, like when events happen like this, like. I mean, yeah, I need Big Mike.
I saw Boomer and Gio talk about it, but that wasn't quite the same either. I was
But
really,
I mean, they're the
really,
morning show. It is what it is. But like, in the afternoon, 2 to 6, like, when things like this happen, like, I want to hear Big Mike. It's not that Craig Carton and Evan Roberts are bad. But it's not that either of the two shows are bad. But I just gotta get Big Mike.
Yeah, no, you need Big Mike. But with that, though, I do have to – I'm sorry, Jerry, I have to kick you off the phone lines. We'll definitely run up some pro clubs later. I know Brandon's in the chat. If you want to do that, we could always get that shaken after my interview.
All right.
All right, perfect, buddy. Thank you so much for calling into the show. I'm sorry I talked about your pickle getting tickled. I always mess up those two words. And I'll see you after the stream, buddy. And then tune in to my Instagram. Next
weekend too.
Yeah, see you next weekend. What? Oh, yeah, that's right, because we're going to be – are we back at school then? Yeah, we are.
Assuming, yeah.
Yeah,
assuming none of us catch the Rona.
Yeah. Well, I came back negative. I tested negative today, so I'm good. I'm all good.
Well, that doesn't mean I'm Well, we got to get tested again next weekend.
Oh, that's true. All right. Well, I'm assuming everything goes according to plan. I'll see you next weekend. That's actually, it makes me think. I don't know if I'm going to have a stream next weekend. We'll have to see, though. But with that, we have to end the stream because I got to go on my Instagram Live and have that interview with that guy because he can't call into the show, and I'd rather just have it over Instagram. So we'll be back after this with more scheduled programming. All right, buddy. Peace.
See you later.